What if the future of work wasn't something to brace for, but something to build? Well, my guest today isn't just imagining the world, he's actively helping design it. And he's the founder and CEO of a company called Raiinmaker. He's incredibly passionate about his work, and quite rightly so. He's at the intersection of Web3, blockchain and AI. But please, I implore you, don't let the buzzwords fool you, because this isn't about tech for tech's sake. My guest has a radically human vision for where we're heading. One where individuals shape AI, not the other way around. And with a background in entertainment and a decade of experience in emerging tech, my guest today brings a rare lens to the conversation. We're not just talking about AI as the job-stealing boogeyman, but as a creative partner, one that can lift people out of the grind and into new kinds of value creation. So, from capturing video data sets on your phone to rethinking how we reward digital contributions around the world, my guest is out to rewrite the script on participation in the AI economy. And I also want to talk about a huge problem that we don't talk about enough, and that is if AI is replacing the junior roles, the kind of roles that university graduates and apprentices used to get. What are those younger people leaving education going to be doing? So if you've ever wondered whether AI will replace humans, or actually if it will help us rediscover our most human traits, I think you're going to enjoy this one. But enough from me. It's time for me to beam your ears all the way to Tenerife, where my guest is waiting to speak with me today. So thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Seraphine, founder, CEO of Raiinmaker. I'm an entrepreneur, but also a lifelong veteran of the media industry. So spent a lot of my early career financing and producing independent entertainment projects. So that's film, TV, scripted, unscripted. Even was involved with some pretty successful theatrical productions, including Rock of Ages, that toured the world. And then got myself into technology about a decade ago. First, finding the world of cryptocurrency, which I fell in love with, and blockchain technology as a fundamentally disruptive, tech that could, transform the financial system and empower more people. And then about 5 years ago, saw that AI was really where things were headed, and so we built a network at Raiinmaker that merges, those two things in technology that I had, fallen in love with, which is blockchain and Web3 on one side and artificial intelligence on the other, and now focused on how can we empower humanity to make this evolutionary leap through the combination of these technologies.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you join me on the podcast. So much I want to talk about, in particular around Raiinmaker. But before we do, I'd love to find out more about your opinions on AI and where AI is at the moment. There's a lot of hype out there, but how do you see the role of AI evolving in the workplace, particularly in relation to everything from entry-level positions that traditionally offered a foot in the door for young professionals to everything else out there? How do you see this evolving?
Well, I mean, I think young professionals, were looking for that route because that was the old world and that was the old path. And I think now we're living in a world of like entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and I have this firm belief that every human is a creator.
Yeah.
We all have that creative force. Not to say everybody wants to be on YouTube or TikTok as an influencer, but that we all have this creative force that we're here to bring into the world. And every single one of us, like for so long, people have been told, oh, you know what you should do, little Jimmy, is you go to college and then you go ask the big guy to give you a job at his company where he pays you this much money and you climb up the ladder and then you get some, you get your health care and you get some stock options. And if you're lucky, and you maybe beat down a few people on the way up, you can climb that corporate ladder, Jimmy. And that's not the way anymore, Neil. Yeah. So, which is a good thing, by the way, in case you're wondering. I believe that humanity is being liberated to essentially create or co-create heaven on earth. But in order to do that, it's going to require that, essentially people learn to be a little more like a man named Nolan Bushnell. If you're familiar with Nolan, but he was the founder of Atari and one of the godfathers of the whole digital technology revolution in the video game industry. And I honestly think about him a lot because he's really one of the first iconic renegade entrepreneurs. Like he hired Steve Jobs and Wozniak to work at Atari before they built Apple. And that's like the to me, like we all need to be a little bit like Nolan Bushnell in this era we're headed into. And so with AI, just to bring it back to your question a little more clearly, it gives each of us the ability to have this force multiplier. Where like before it was like, oh, I've got to raise money and I have to hire 20 people. Well, actually now you don't. And with AI, you can do stuff at scale that you couldn't imagine that you could have done, as an entrepreneur before. So for those that embrace it and realize its potential, and again, it's still not perfect. It's like you still need humans to, you still need a team. Like we have a team, pretty large team at Raiinmaker, not like hundreds or anything crazy, but like we're an earlier stage company and we've got a decent sized team, and those humans bring unique value that's that's unmistakable. But at the same time, I'm saying to all them guys, we need to be leveraging AI tools in all of our workflows to streamline our efficiency, to increase productivity, and to just be like a force multiplier for whatever we're doing. And so I look at it more from that lens. Now, is there some people that might lose a job working at, some slavery of a corporation? Like, yeah, but good. That's actually like being liberated, right? Like, I don't think that's a job that people should want to stay in because they probably don't want to stay in. They're only there because they don't think that they can achieve anything more. But that belief in and of itself is flawed at its core. So I believe every human has this creative potential. And I think it's about unlocking that and turning that loose on the planet.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned Nolan there, because that Atari 2600 with that wooden veneer finish, it was like a work of art long before Apple dominated those conversations around aesthetics and things. It was a magical time, wasn't it, back then?
Well, I wasn't alive yet, Neil. I was born in 81, but it's funny is on the media side, that's our biggest piece of IP is we acquired a project from a studio, which it came with it. And we acquired also Nolan's life rights. So like we have a couple, we've got a project in the works related to that. So I know Nolan personally, and there's a reason I bring that up is I've spent some time like kind of studying his story. And I think there's a lot of parallels that we can find in the current moment we're in.
I love that. And fast forward to present day, and Raiinmaker is a Web3 and AI tech company that has developed this Raiinmaker AI app, which we'll find out more about in a moment. But although you are a tech company, what makes you stand out for me? What set off my tech spidey senses is it's grounded in the idea of human-led AI, which is so important right now. So tell me more about the platform, how it enables individuals to directly shape AI through their own participation and contribution. Bring that to life for me.
We set out on this journey many years ago, and the core belief or philosophy of the company is, as it was then, that each human represents a certain value in the digital world, and the value of our data or peer-to-peer interactions is really the foundational value of the lifeblood of the whole digital economy. And so with AI, this is even true, exponentially more so. And with that, we are able to Raiinmaker focus on what is the value that each human is contributing with their data to train AI. And, so that's that's the empowering aspect is like imagining, in the current world, everyone's data has been scraped and vacuumed and hoovered into these billion-dollar models, and humans haven't really they've gotten models to use, which is cool. I don't want to say they've gotten nothing, but they weren't necessarily compensated proportionally in a fair manner for the use of that data. And we believe that in the future that we're heading towards, building systems that will incentivize and reward humans to contribute, quality data to advance, the evolution of AI models, is a perfect position for Raiinmaker. So on the app itself, people are actually out in the world. They're capturing natively new proprietary video data sets. They're being paid for, and those are then being licensed to major companies that are training their AI video models. And then we also have humans doing, work, same thing on a mobile, super easy to use mobile app around the world, where they're earning compensation for helping to provide feedback, on the performance of those AI video models. So like one of our partners we announced a partnership with last week is Google. So that's the first major enterprise we're working with, but we've got a number of other conversations going. And so as that grows, the demand for that, video training support, whether it's in the form of data or human feedback, grows, then, so does the base of money there is to pay, our users. And we've got, users in 190 countries. And what gets me excited about it, Neil, is from the beginning, my vision has always been, how can I build a system that will especially empower the other half of the planet that I feel like has really been left out of the, this global digital economy. And I feel like with the combination of what we're doing with decentralized AI and video and data, and then crypto and blockchain and payments, it's like the perfect, perfect solution to that problem.
And I think when it comes to adopting tech, especially things like AI, many bean counters out there see it as a way to cut costs, often head count. And we're seeing this at the moment with things like call centers, which I think are getting things completely wrong by seeing AI as especially in call centers, as a cost center, when a customer experience can actually be a huge revenue driver when AI and humans are side by side. But what responsibilities do you think business leaders should have in steering AI adoption to benefit rather than bypass that human talent that they've got?
I think understanding that the world is more than ever focused on AI alignment and ethical AI.
Yeah.
Thinking about how we engineer these solutions in a way that balances both, what's right from just a human-centered perspective, and also what can generate more efficiency in the bottom line. I mean, I think that it's hard because our current financial system, and that's why I think complementary currencies, which come from the world of crypto and blockchain most specifically, or most effectively, actually the most effective complementary currencies are things like airline points, right? Everybody knows airline miles. Whether you're on Delta or United or you're a European carrier, or, you're an Emirates guy, whatever your flavor of loyalty is, like that's one of the most successful complementary currencies in the world right now, other than some of the big ones like Bitcoin and stuff, right? And so those complementary currencies' ability to properly evaluate in these, kind of closed economic environments, the actual cost, of and the value of these different inputs versus like the fiat based, central bank currency, system really isn't great at looking at that. It sees the economy in a way that doesn't see things that are really valuable, and maybe rewards things that are not as valuable, right? And so I think we have to kind of like zoom out from an economic perspective to then also then map in on the AI side and how we engineer solutions to say, well, by bringing in complementary currencies, it's a way for us to unlock the ability to have greater understanding and visibility of the value that an actor is providing in an environment, even if that actor is an autonomous system, even if you're running some sort of Internet of Things system, in a network of those IoT inputs or nodes, even that, and the ability to understand like proportional, fractional value. And so I think, of course, we can go philosophical, which is to go down that line, is to say, okay, well, the whole point of AI ideally is that it in some way enhances and empowers humanity, improves the human condition. Because if it doesn't do that, then why the fuck are we doing it? Right. And so that's, I think, kind of philosophically speaking, I think the human race should probably try to agree on that one basic point, that this technology should be leveraged to improve the human condition. Well, guess what? If a few guys get super rich and everybody else gets super poor, do people think that's going to be a good planet to live on? It's not, is the answer to that question, Neil. So we have to then start to think, okay, well, how can we engineer economic systems that allow for the right incentive mechanisms and distribution of proportional value in a way that is, going to actually create the world that we want to see. And so I think AI has the potential to do that if directed with intention in that way.
And bringing it back to that little Jimmy that you mentioned at the very beginning of the podcast, he's in full-time education right now, studying for a job that might not even exist yet. So how can companies strike that balance between automation that they're rushing in to implement now and apprenticeship, ensuring that AI doesn't eliminate those very roles that build future leaders? Because it's something that's often missed, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And I still think little Jimmy could have a job. Yeah. I just think hopefully what he's going to have to know is that he's going to have to know how to leverage AI and use it, because now he's going to be asked to do the job of 5 people instead of 1, and and actually he'll have the ability to do that effectively if he's trained up on how the technology works. Right. And so I don't think it's like, it might be like, oh, well, there's 1/5 of the jobs for little Jimmys. Yeah. But there's 5 times the opportunity for a Jimmy to decide, what, I actually want to come up with this product that does XYZ. And now I know with, AI and a little cash from my parents, or that I saved up over working or whatever, or that I made trading crypto or whatever it is, I can now take that and go start my own thing. Right. Because ultimately, like, and I'm speaking from that perspective, Neil, I'm not a corporate guy. Like I didn't climb the ladder at Pepsi or something. So it's going to be hard for you to get me to like advocate for that path for someone. And I'm not even saying that's the wrong path. I'm actually will always advocate that each human should tune into their own inner GPS, their own
Yeah.
spirit, their own soul. I believe that everybody has inside of them a unique divine spark that is waiting to be unlocked and unleashed in the world in a positive way. But in order to find that, you have to get off the bottom of the pyramid, off of what I call Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Which, that to find that self-actualization that sits at the top of that pyramid. But to do that, you can't be sitting in a village in Africa worried if your family's going to have, a handful of rice tomorrow or someone's going to come, shoot you or whatever. Like that's the whole thing of like, we've got to find a way to liberate more people off the bottom of that pyramid. And I think by doing that, inherently, they're going to start to tap into like, okay, this is what I'm here to bring to the world. This is my gift. I'm going to focus on that. And I think AI will potentially has the power to enable them to say, oh, okay, like you want to create this kind of business? Boom. You can now do it with you can do a lot by yourself. Of course, I still think you need others, but I think that's where, the Jimmys of the world, more of them are going to go down the path of saying, let me go just build my own thing versus like, oh, I'm going to go get a job at McKinsey. And again, there's going to be jobs at McKinsey and big shops like that, but there's just going to be less of them because, there's more efficiency with technology. And I don't think that's an abnormal thing. I think that follows the same trend that technical innovation has been following for hundreds of years, and we've been tracking it, in the modern economy.
And your passion for this topic really shines through in our conversation today. And for people listening all around the world, I'm curious, what training models or indeed mentorship structures have you seen work best when it comes to upskilling employees in AI tools and ultimately ensure that nobody gets left behind and people are upskilled, they are brought along for the ride? Are you seeing any positive stories there of what working or what is working?
There's a number of good ones that I know that our team has been using, and it's something, Neil, that they're escaping my brain right now. But I'll have my team reach out and send them, and you can drop it in the notes. But there's like so many. I honestly feel like because part of this is obviously people kind of looking to make a business on that business, right? And saying, hey, pay me $49.99 and I'll tell you how to be rich with AI. Like I think you have to be a little careful with some of them, but I think that you can't beat the old fashioned, like, depending on the specific thing that you're looking to do, like looking at first researching what are the most effective tools that are specialized in doing that thing, and then going and actually using it and playing with it. There's just nothing to replace that. Now you could, again, I think there's training and stuff that can help you hack there a little faster. But I mean, ultimately, like, we've had a number of folks that have just kind of, as we saw the wave coming and we're already saying, okay, let's use this to, write our social post, or let's use this to create videos, or let's use this to automate this system or create efficiency there. So it's kind of happened more organically with my team, but I know there are a number of like AI groups that I'm a part of that have advocated different more holistic solutions that are like, oh, here, you can go upskill in AI in this across the board way. I just haven't personally used them because we've been organically kind of growing, I guess, with it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, really does. And before you came on the podcast, I was reading that you've spoken a lot around AI being a tool for empowerment rather than displacement. And that echoes in everything that you're talking about here today. But are there any real world examples of where you're seeing this shift already happening? Any good news stories out there you can share?
Well, I don't know about big news stories, but I mean, I think in general, I think we're at a crossroads, Neil.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of stories that point to the other outcome right now, right? And I think that I see me and a handful of others, and I think also people are even deep in the labs that are developing some of those powerful models that are even probably more concerned about this than I am, saying, look, this may be our last chance to get it right, and we better move with intention and move quickly to get it right. So I don't think there's like a plethora of great stories that are publicly out there. I've personally seen it. And I think in what we're doing, personally with Raiinmaker and what we're striving towards and saying, look, let's go to these companies and give them an ethical option for AI video data, versus them saying, you know what, let's just go, let's go license this library from this company who says they have video. Well, that company ripped them from a bunch of people that didn't agree to give them. Well, the big company didn't know that they were going to sign a deal. So that's where I think we focused on, like, let's create a truly ethical AI video data solution, right? So I think there are, and I've seen stories of, some amazing cool stuff and people creating stuff that they never could have before, right? But it's not that it pales in comparison to some of the more negative stories. Because again, the flip side of this, Neil, is I would tell you, I'll be the first to tell you, this technology has the potential to either empower us, like, and create a golden age for humanity and a renaissance, or it has the power to enslave us, like we've never seen in this epoch of human history. So, which is it going to be? It'll probably be some federation of outcomes. I don't think it's going to be everybody's enslaved or everybody's empowered. I think it depends on where you live. It depends on a lot of variables. And so I think my goal is to link arms with others that are working to empower humanity and create a more democratized, decentralized version of this technology, to put it in the hands of humans to be able to shape and co-create the future of our species. That's not a small task to take on, but that's what we've chosen to take on.
And Rainmaker rewards users for their input into the AI systems that we're talking about here. So tell me more about how this model helps build trust and promote fairness across communities, because again, something we don't talk about enough, but you guys seem to be doing something different here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we're still honing and perfecting, Neil. It's actually more challenging than people would think to figure out the right way to do it proportionally, and also make sure that you reward people doing good work and you punish or you block people trying to cheat. Because as soon as you put a bag of money in a system, trust me, the people come and they try to cheat, right? So that's one of the challenges that you deal with humans and people. Not that they're bad. It's just, again, I think there's been a lot of exploitative incentive mechanisms. And so that's generated human behavior, or trained or conditioned human behavior, where it's like, okay, well, if every system is going to try to exploit me, then I'm going to in turn go and try to, basically win at that game, right? And so I think it's going to take us some time before we can say, no, there's a better, more aligned way to do this, where there's plenty of abundance and wealth and resources to be distributed, to people who are willing to show up and do the work and contribute value. And I think there is so much that needs to happen. I think there's this misnomer that, AI is getting faster, smarter, better every day, but there's so many gaps in its capabilities that it still requires a tremendous amount of support from humans. And that's not going to change anytime soon. That doesn't mean there's some stuff that it will definitely not need help with, but there's some stuff it's going to need help with for a very, very, very long time. So I think there's this kind of interesting balance that I think for us, we're just constantly saying, okay, how can we look at the contribution of a human in our system, on our network, and make sure that the reward they're getting is proportional and fair based on that actual contribution. And that's, again, an evolving challenge that we're working on. I feel better than I've ever felt about it, but I can tell you, I'd be the first to tell you, we're not there yet. Like, we're still driving on it. We're still honing the algorithms, the scoring, the distribution of value. All of that is still being, fine-tuned by our company as we go to market and bring our product to market.
And as we look forward, look towards a future that's shaped by AI, I'm going to ask you to look into my virtual crystal ball now and ask you, in an ideal world, what does a human-centric, innovation-driven workplace actually look like? And how close are we to achieving it? Can we pull this off, do you think?
100%. I think we want AI doing the stuff that humans don't want to do, or that we don't enjoy doing, most of us, and giving us the ability to actually be like creative. And I know that it hasn't played out this way fully thus far, but I think having the ability for AI to basically help us to take off the load of, some of the busy work or the parts of the job that people don't really care that much about, and also create greater efficiency so we can do more and enjoy what we're doing more. I think ultimately, again, like, think of it as like, is AI systems, are the AI systems that we're developing, are they enhancing the human condition? Are they advancing the human race, whether it's in the workplace or in our personal life? Because if they're not, then we have to ask that question, because what else are we doing it for? If we're doing it just to do it, well, we didn't need to do it. But if we're going to do it to actually improve the human condition, well, let's have that intention, and then let's program what we're doing with clarity and specificity and say, okay, well, we're building a system. In my mind, like, the first question we need to answer is like, how is this improving the human condition? And if we're not able to answer that question, then honestly, we shouldn't do it. Right. So I think that's, to me, like, fundamental and paramount. And I do believe that I see a world where, and I'm already seeing it in my company, where like it's enabling people to do stuff. I've got a business partner that can't code for, to save his life, but he's been able to like code stuff with AI that actual like algorithms that do different things in various systems. I won't say what, but I'm saying like, just because we're like, hey, it'd be cool to try this. And then all of a sudden, like we're using AI to code stuff and then have it work and then actually seeing results and outcomes. And he's never learned to code a day in his life. Right. And that's where I'm saying the future where we're headed is like, we're heading to this world where it's like, Neil's like, I want to build an app that, fill in the blank. But as long as you can learn to prompt it and tune it, like you'll be able to launch your own products, Neil, and you won't need to go raise money and hire a bunch of, software engineers. Now, I think you'll still want software engineers. I can tell you that we've got, we've played around with doing some vibe coding, on that side, on the actual software, on our software dev side. And we're in some areas we are doing it, but you still need human in the mix. You still need, I think, especially for the higher grade, products and stuff. But to get to an MVP, I think it's certainly great for that. So I think the point is like, you find these places where like it can create this outsized like force multiplication or increased capability in these windows where, that to me is like the balance where it should be empowering humans to be, more prolific with our creative potential, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. And I cannot thank you enough for coming on the podcast today and bringing this entire topic to life and sharing your invaluable insights. And I'm going to see if there's something we can do for you now, because some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or maybe even listened to this podcast. So is there a person you'd love to have a private breakfast and lunch with? He or she might just get to listen to this. So who would it be and why? Let's see what we can manifest together.
Oh, I love that. It's funny, as we were talking before about this question, my initial thought was, well, I was going to tell you, I would say the Dalai Lama, but I got to meet the Dalai Lama a couple of months ago, which was a pretty special experience. But what's interesting is the person that popped to my mind right away was Mark Cuban. Yeah. And I don't know why. It just honestly, like, it organically happened, as we were saying. So maybe Mark Cuban is the guy.
Well, if it's organically came to you, then we're talking about manifestation. Let's throw that out into the universe. Let's see what will happen there. If Mark doesn't get to hear, maybe a friend of a friend is listening, and maybe this is a message for you to make that call, make something happen. And for everybody else listening, wanting to learn more about Raiinmaker and how they can get involved with that, or just find out more information or start a conversation with you, where would you like to send them?
Oh, yeah. So the readinmaker.com is where more of our kind of the front facing business side of our stuff is. We've also got rain.network. Remember, rain is always with two eyes representing that peer-to-peer empowerment. But also on X, you can find us at Raiinmaker app, or on Instagram, I believe, on the same handle. And same for me, you can find me on LinkedIn. If you message me and I don't respond for a few days or a few weeks, do not be offended. It's just my LinkedIn can be somewhat of a scary place sometimes. But you can find me on LinkedIn or X or Raiinmaker, Raiinmaker.com or Raiinmaker app on X and on Insta.
Love it. And I will add links to everything to make that easy for everybody listening. And just a big thank you from me for raising that question, whether AI is displacing entry-level jobs, given that AI tools are automating tasks that were once performed by those young recruits that we brought to life talking about little Jimmy today, but also why businesses need to invest in training and mentorship in AI tools to ultimately ensure a sustainable, human, inclusive future of work. That's where we all need to get to. I think we can all agree on that. But thank you for starting that conversation today.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. It's been a pleasure, buddy.
So what did you take away from JD's vision? I think his passion was hugely infectious. And for me, maybe it's this. The future of work isn't about surviving AI. It's about owning your part in it. Whether you're training a model, maybe you're contributing a data set, or just experimenting with new tools. I think Raiinmaker is betting that individuals, not huge institutions, maybe they're going to shape what comes next. And JD's approach reminds us that empowerment isn't just a nice idea. It's a design choice. And the more we build systems that invite participation, the better chance we have of creating technology that reflects real human values. So over to you. Is the future of work being written for you or by you? That's the question that I'm going to be thinking about. And over to you. Tech blog writer at outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes, techtalksnetwork.com. You'll find thousands of episodes there, 7 other shows that I host. And also, there's a nice little audio message button where you can just hit record and let me hear your voice. So you've heard from me. You've heard from my guests. I'm hoping to hear from you. And on that note, I think I'm going to walk off into the sunset, and I'll speak with you all again very soon. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.